Hey everybody, it's Byron with Musical Miles Podcast. On today's episode, we bring you Miss Olivia Harms. She is the daughter of Western music icon Joni Harms. She grew up on a ranch in Southern Oregon, but we sat down with her in Las Vegas, Nevada during the National Finals Rodeo. We had a great visit with her about her musical journey, about her time spent in Nashville as a songwriter, as well as time spent in Texas touring and honing her skills. We hope you enjoy this episode of Musical Miles Podcast, which is brought to you by our friends at Teton Guitars. All right. Hey, music lovers, welcome to Musical Miles Podcast. I'm your host, Byron Duff, and I am here with Miss Olivia Harms, or Mrs.
Oh, yes, I guess so.
It's the new Mrs. I call my wife Miss Shanda, so we've
It's
been
okay,
married
I'll
42
accept it.
years. So
I love it.
we are here in Las Vegas, Nevada. It is the greatest 2 weeks of the Western world. It's the National Finals Rodeo here in Las Vegas, and today is the last day.
Final day.
And we're all wore out.
I know. Everybody's pooped.
We're dragging our tails. It's been a crazy busy week, but we're so thankful that you took time out of your schedule to sit down with us, Olivia.
I'm
is so cool.
glad to be here, Byron. Thank you for making time for me and moving things around to fit everybody's schedule. Vegas is always so fun because you have so many people that you want to see and try to connect with, and then I think that Las Vegas is like a time warp. I really do, because the time just gone.
Yeah, it's really weird, in some regards, because time doesn't matter. There's no clocks in these casinos, right? So you got the one on your wrist or on your phone. But and this is such a great week or 10 days because we're all here. It's like a family reunion. My wife and I have been here for 25 years in a row. But probably been here 30 times total since they came to Vegas, and we love this because it's like a big reunion, right?
We absolutely
get to see all our friends and family, and we get to experience the rodeo, and we know a lot of the contestants, and it's just a fun.
I mean, it's great because my friends and like the folks that come with me, or that we just like can't go 10 steps without bumping into somebody.
Yeah,
and they're always saying, "Man, could we just get like 5 minutes down the road without you finding somebody that you know?" But when you've been around it for so long, and you've come for so many years, you're in the Western industry, you know the people, and then you've run into people that you don't even, think you would see, and then they are here.
Right. Well, today, while we're here waiting for you today, I ran into one of the Teton guitar artists that Teton sponsors, Daniel Bedos, who's been on the podcast.
Yeah.
He actually does a music festival in Orem, Utah called Rocky Mountain Bootstock.
Nice.
And so I went down and interviewed some of his artists and got a chance to interview him, but just ran into him here in the casino, and so it is such a small world. And like you say, when you've been around, especially as long as I have, because I'm like Father Time, I'm an old man, and I've been around a lot of the industry for a lot of years. And so anyway, anytime you connect the ag industry and the, farming and ranching and rodeo and music, and it all kind of culminates together, right?
Everybody's here, and when the Cowboys come to town, we all know everybody, and we're all pretty friendly folks, so it's pretty easy for us to find our friends, and if we can't find them, by golly, we'll make some new friends pretty easy.
And it doesn't take, I'm sure with you as well, it doesn't take me very long to connect the dots. I can sit down with somebody in 2 or 3 minutes and 2 or 3 questions and go, well, do you know, you know so-and-so? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I spent 20 minutes yesterday with a couple of guys from Elko, Nevada, just yucking it up because I know a lot of the people that they know, and it was just fun. And one of them we called was a guy named Ed Hintz, and his son Cody actually has been a competitor here at the NFR.
Oh, really?
He qualified, in the team roping years ago. And when I was in the rope business, I used to sponsor him with ropes. And anyway, so we're talking, and I go, well, you don't know Ed Hintz, do you? Yeah. And I said, well, let's just call Ed and find out. Anyway, it was fun.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, but
it is always just those few degrees of separation everywhere you go, especially in the cowboy world.
Right. Well, let's talk about that because your background, I always ask everybody that I have this kind of the same questions, tell us your musical journey. You were born into this, literally.
I literally was, yes.
2 days old, you graced the stage somewhere with your mother, because your mother is Joni Harms.
She is.
And she is a Hall of Fame Western Music Hall of Fame member.
She is.
And been around forever and has touched a lot of people. So Tell us a little bit about your mom and your family.
Well, I wish I could remember my first memory on stage, but
Sure.
2 days old, that's kind of pushing it.
That's stretching it. Yeah.
Stretching it a bit. But I do remember, ever since I was little, I don't really have the first memory of on stage. And, a lot of people that you talk to, artists, friends, songwriter buddies, they'll be like, well, I just remember I was up there and I just was like, I love this and this is what I got to do. And for me, I don't have that memory. It's kind of fun if you do, but I just always did it. And it was like totally the norm. Like,
right.
You go to school and I say, your mom doesn't sing on stage and you shouldn't take you on the road. Like, what do you mean? You're just in that mindset.
That's just normal for you.
Yes. And so I was used to it and I got so many great opportunities. But I do remember, the moment where I was like, this is not normal for everybody, but this is what I want to do with my life because I see people get touched by music. I saw that my mom is not in it to get famous. If it comes, great. If success comes, wonderful. But honestly, I just want to be here to try to make people happy. Music is one of the most touching forms of art.
Yes.
It can help you heal. Helps heal people. I've heard people come up and they say, this song that you wrote really helped me through a tough time. And by goodness, if I can just help one person, then I feel like I've done an okay job.
Yeah. Well, there's no question about it. It's interesting because each of the artists, share their experience. Like you said, I got to interview Ned Ledoux about 2 months ago. And Ned told the story about his first memory of the drums. Because, he was a drummer first.
Yeah.
And he was never planning on being a singer until after his dad passed away.
Right.
It kind of just stepped into that. And so, but yeah, in your situation, you just were around your mom all the time. And I'm sure your mom was singing in the house and all day long, always.
And then, here we go with our 6 degrees of separation or whatever it is, because my mom used to tour with Chris Ledoux.
Oh, isn't that crazy?
And she wrote a song for him, Cowboy Up. That's one that she wrote. And so I remember one of the memories I do have of like earliest of being on stage is she was doing a show with Chris. They used to call it the Cowboy and the Cowgirl tour, and they'd go around and do lots of rodeos. And I remember she invited me up, and I used to sing, I Want to Be a Cowboy Sweetheart. And so I was up there, and I'm singing, but then she's like kind of trying to get me to smile. I'm just staring out and totally straight face. And, she's playing, and so she doesn't have a free hand to be like, hey, kid, smile. And so she just kind of turns her boot and taps my bum a little bit and like, smile, kid, smile. Oh, man. I remember the waterworks started. I was probably like 4 or 5 years old.
She embarrassed
you. I was like, oh, my gosh, I've done wrong. And she said, no. I was just trying to get you to smile and like have fun. You don't have to be so serious. But yeah, it's fun. I have so many great memories of traveling with her overseas. Lots of fun places, here in the States. So many great opportunities. And now it's really fun because like last weekend when I was here for the first spell of Vegas, she came with me. So I feel like I get to kind of return the favor of I got to go with her so many times. And now that she's just starting to slow down and pick and choose the gigs that she wants to do,
absolutely,
I can say, hey, well, if you want to come on an adventure, I got to go play here if you want to tag along. And it's been really fun.
Oh, that's cool because she's earned that right.
She has.
She's put in her time and that's always fun. And it's cool because it makes room for the new generation like yourself.
Yeah.
But you're an old hand at this. So you actually cut your first album in 2011, right?
I did. Yeah.
And it's just simply called Olivia.
I did ages ago. Yeah. I was 16.
Okay.
And so Santa Claus brought me my first guitar when I was 6.
Oh, wow.
And so shortly after that I started writing music and I was in a tween stage, and Taylor Swift was my little queen. And so I think some of my first songs were definitely contemporary country inspired because I grew up in the Western industry and I thought, I want to step away. I don't want to be just like my mom and follow what I know,
Well, your mom was more traditional Western, right? Country Western than contemporary country or even what, it's... Music is very regional, even in the country world. You've got the Texas country and the red dirt music, and I don't know, how that really all fits because even the Western music and the Western folklore stuff like Elko and the cowboy poetry stuff, even in Alpine, it's very different than traditional, or not. I shouldn't say traditional.
It's hard to when people say, "What is your genre?" It's so hard for me to tell them because I just say I've just started saying I play cowgirl music.
Okay.
And whatever that is to you is great. I don't know if you're a buckaroo out in the high desert of Elko area. That's one thing. You're like doing the vaquera style.
Right.
So, cowgirl music might be that you're a barrel racer from East Texas or somewhere, down up in the Panhandle.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, I don't feel like you need to title it. I've had people say, well, you play Texas music. Yeah, but I also have a lot of Bakersfield influence. I lived in Nashville for a couple years, so I do have that contemporary, Nashville production side. I also love the raw and, just like really unproduced Americana side of country music.
Sure.
So, I don't think you got to put limits on it.
Well, so besides your mom being a huge influence, you mentioned Taylor Swift, who else really truly influenced your music?
Yeah, Taylor Swift, she's her own powerhouse, but that was probably when I was only like 12.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, just a little bit of that.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I kind of went on to find what was really more my style of music. But as far as influences, I've always loved like Susie Boggess, Leanne Womack.
Oh, yeah.
Some of those like 90s powerhouse ladies. I love that music. Leanne Womack is really one of my favorites. She's got some great, just honky tonk, steel guitar.
Yeah.
I did, early Shania Twain. I loved that a lot.
Sure.
Some of those powerhouse ladies. And then you move on a little bit like the Dixie Chicks, Miranda Lambert. Love all that. And I've always been a big George Strait fan. I always say if I ever get a chance to do a duet with somebody and it's George, my goodness, I'll do whatever it takes to be there because he is the king forever in my book.
He's the king to all of us.
All of us.
He's the king of country music. And you know what's interesting, and I didn't realize this, I just saw this somewhere not too long ago, that I don't know how many, I think over 60 number one hits,
Isn't
right?
that insane?
And do you know that he's not a member of the Grand Ole Opry?
I know.
And I guess it's by choice.
Right.
But they said, and he just said, look, I'm a Texan, and I'm going to be in Texas. It's not for me to be in Nashville, and you have to commit to a certain number of dates that you have to be there. But I didn't realize that he was not a member of the Grand Ole Opry.
You just assume when someone is that successful, right? That
right.
they're just. But I respect him for that. If he is trying to slow down, he doesn't want to be on the Opry, that set date of amount of dates that you have to play.
Well, and I don't think George ever needed that.
No,
he didn't need it.
Well, you just watch him perform, and he is just up there. He's just like true cowboy style. He gets up there, he plays his music, he sings his songs. He doesn't need all this.
There's not a lot of dancing.
Lights and
I go back
fireworks.
to the Pure Country movie when he did that. It was interesting because there's that little segment in there. He said where the the dancing chicken part. About the reason the chicken dances because they keep the stage hot. Or they light them anyway. And he just said, I don't need that. And he even in the movie he went back to the basics, which was really really truly George Strait. So
absolutely it is.
Yeah. Well, cool. So who kind of influenced you? You said a little bit about the Bakersfield sound. I mean, the Buck Owens era and Dwight Yoakam. I mean, those guys had some impact on your music.
Absolutely. I grew up listening to very traditional stuff, as we've said, but Buck Owens and Merle Haggard were always playing.
Yeah.
I love Dolly Parton. That was one of my mom's favorite influences. So then, listening to it and growing up listening to her songwriting, like Coat of Many Colors, that song will never get old. I don't know why you want to hear it again and again, but I think it's just because it's such a good story.
Yeah.
You get done with it and you're like, that is a good story song.
Yeah.
You feel good. So all those kind of artists and musicians, I guess, help sculpt what I am and the kind of music that I make. You blend it together. Some Bakersfield, all the cowboy music that I grew up going to Elko and all these cowboy gatherings and always being a part of rodeos and then going to Nashville, and I guess you mix all that together and there you have Olivia Harms music.
So what was your time like in Nashville? I mean,
it was good. I had a good time in Nashville, but I did it a little different than some folks did. When I was there, I really tried to scope out some of the hit writers from the 80s and 90s.
Okay.
I knew that that's the kind of songwriting I wanted to do. Nothing wrong with contemporary country and the rapping and things that they're putting into music and the click tracks, but I wanted to write a song, inspired by Dolly Parton. I wanted to be able to write story songs.
So who were some of the songwriters that you got to work with in Nashville?
Yeah, there's a couple of cool ones. I got to write with Dennis Morgan, and he's responsible for Smoky Mountain Rain, and I was country when country wasn't cool, so that was really neat. Wood Newton is a great songwriter. He wrote Bobby Sue, and then It's Not What I Did, It's What I Didn't Do for the Steve Wariner. Mm-hmm. All kinds of guys. Biff Watson, he used to tour with Don Williams, and I wrote a lot of songs with him. He was the lead guitar player for Don Williams. Another guy I love.
I got to see Don Williams at Billy Bob's.
He's another one that he just gets up there. He sings his music.
Well, he said. I mean, it was so cool because he played a song and then he gets real quiet and he goes, I don't have a lot to say.
Yeah.
But if I think of something, I'll say it.
Yep, absolutely.
It was just, and then he'd just play a song and then go on to the next one.
I know, and you got to love a guy for that.
Yeah, and very successful. I mean, lots of number one hits,
Yeah, he's another one.
Yeah. Well, cool. So you spent a couple of years in Nashville.
I did.
And then what was the time frame on that? When did that happen?
So I did go to college, and I got a little degree in agriculture business management. My parents, knowing the music industry very well, were like, "You got to go to college.
Well,
you got to have a backup plan."
You have a family ranch that's been in the family a long time.
Yes. So agriculture is definitely a very second true passion of mine.
Sure.
So great to have that. I had a great experience.
Where did you go to school?
Oregon State.
Okay.
We're not good at football, but we're sometimes good at baseball. So Beavers, that's where I went to school.
Not the other ones.
Not the Ducks. No.
Okay.
But as soon as I graduated from college, I was like, okay, I did what you asked me to do. I went to college. I did the thing.
Now I want to do
now I'm
what
going
I
to
want
Nashville.
to do. Yeah.
Yes. So I up and went to Nashville, and I started finding places to songwrite and met some friends. I got signed to a publishing deal through BMI.
Okay.
And then I was there for 2.5 years, and then COVID started coming down.
Right.
And so I was kind of assessing things, and I thought, I do not want to be stuck in an apartment if this is as bad as it's going to be.
Right.
So I went on home to Oregon, and I was at the ranch and hanging out, and it was a pretty good place to spend COVID. If you got to be locked down, at least you have room to run. You're around your family and animals. Right. But after a little while of being cooped up, I thought, this is silly. Life has to go on.
Yeah.
We all got to be able to chase our dreams and get out there. And I've always believed God has a plan, so I ain't going to fight it and be afraid. I'm going to go out and find my music and go play it. And I saw all my Texas buddies that were songwriting up in Nashville. They were able to go play music in Texas.
Right.
And it was, you can't shut down the Lone Star State. It'll stay open. I said, that's where I have to go. I got to go find a way to get to Texas. And I, wasn't really going to be able to fly down there with a ton of sound equipment. And so I thought, well, I'm going to have to drive. And plus, COVID restrictions, not a lot of stuff was even open.
Right.
And I thought, well, if I'm going to drive, it's definitely a trip from Oregon. It's not a hop and a skip. It's a long haul. So the best idea I could come up with was to buy a travel trailer. Okay. And that way I could take my 2 cow dogs with me. Okay. And I said, Mom, Dad, I'm going to hook it up to my pickup, and I'm going to drive it to Texas, and I'm going to go find places to play. I'm sure you can imagine how excited they were, yeah?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm a parent, but I understand wanting to, spread your wings, right?
Absolutely. So
and that was a weird time. It was just a really weird time.
It was a weird time for everybody. I know a lot of people were hit by it, and it's not just musicians. It's lots of small businesses, lots of big businesses. But, I just was taught that if you want to do something, you do not sit around and wait for things to change. You don't sit and wait for people to come knock on your door. Right. If you want it, you better go find the opportunity and make it happen yourself. Yeah. So they understood, especially my mom. She raised me to be that way, and she shook her head and thought, I don't know what I'm going to do with you, but I guess we'll just start praying persistently and hope that you make it down there fine. And so that's how I ended up in Texas. Okay. Yep.
And so where'd you end up? Did you go to Austin or?
Actually, I ended up after a year and a half of living out of my trailer and traveling around. I got tired of having 2 cow dogs and a little travel trailer. So I decided I'd buy a house just outside of Fort Worth.
Oh, okay. So you were up north.
I was.
And very interesting because we spent a little bit of time there this fall. And I've been in Texas a lot. I used to ride cutting horses, and so I spent a lot of time in the Fort Worth area. But the music scene is very segregated, if you will. You've got the Austin, New Braunfels, San Marcos, area, and then you have the West Texas, Lubbock,
absolutely,
kind of up there in the Panhandle, and then you've got Fort Worth, that's and even close enough to Oklahoma City that there's some influence there, and then that that red dirt influence as well.
It's neat to see the different sections of Texas, and the way that I did it, it worked out well. I didn't have a plan, but I drove into Texas, and I think I ended up first going through San Angelo and spent a little time there, and then I went to San Antonio and Bernie area and Bandera and experienced that. Then I went over to Houston area, ended up in Austin, a little bit of East Texas. But I kept really finding the people that were fast friends and people that seemed like they got my music. Weatherford, Granbury, Stephenville, and Fort Worth. Okay. Just that west side of the Metroplex seemed like it was a pretty good spot.
And that's a cool area. That's a very cool area. And there's a lot of Western influence there. Yeah. A lot of great horse farms, a lot of great cutters and team ropers. And there's just, big Western influence in that area. So.
And West Texas is great too. I love West Texas, and I love the Panhandle, Amarillo, and Lubbock. Great areas.
Yeah.
But Fort Worth always has something going on, and so for a musician, that's a good place to be. If you can be close enough that you can always have a
go
event.
Play in the Stockyards.
Yes.
Yeah, the Stockyards has some great venues there that are really cool that always have live music. So. Yeah. So where's your favorite place? I mean, obviously you've toured around, you've been places.
Yeah.
What's one of your favorite venues to play?
Favorite venues, that's tricky because I've been asked this question before, and I've tried to give it a lot of thought. And everybody has like their venues that they love. I've gotten to play at being here at the NFR is always fun because you get to see all your friends. I've played the Bluebird in Nashville, which is iconic.
Very iconic. Have you played Green Hall?
I have not played Green Hall, and that's on my list.
We actually got to interview 3 artists in Green Hall.
Did you?
Yeah, while we were there.
Oh, how cool!
Yeah,
that's
cool.
It's on my list for sure. Yeah. But honestly, my truthful answer is my favorite place to play is anywhere where there's people that sit and listen.
Okay.
If you have a listening room like the Bluebird, where they care about where the song came from. I don't care if it's for 500 people or 3 people sitting around the back porch around a campfire drinking beer. I just want to play for people that get it and like to listen.
Well, there's nothing more frustrating, and I had a chance to interview Django Walker. I don't know if you know who Django is, but he said that his dad, Jerry Jeff, told him, he says, this is a tough business. He says, you're going to be playing songs and music that you love, and everybody's going to be in there talking and drinking beer, and it's loud and obnoxious, and they're not listening to you, and that's hard. That's really hard to deal with, and so we have gotten the opportunity here in the last, because of the podcast, to go to some songwriter festivals and some of those deals. And we got to go to I think it's called the Redbird Listening Room in New Braunfels.
Yeah.
And it's cool because they go, hey, listen, we're here to listen to music. If you want to talk, go outside and talk. You want to talk on your phone, go outside and talk. We're here to listen. So please be quiet and give these guys the respect and the due that they deserve. And so I love that.
I do too.
And I love, because the cool thing about the songwriter aspect of it is that you get to share your story. You get to set up the songs. And I always have everyone that I interview, I have them play me a song, but I always ask them, set it up. Tell me, is this a song you wrote? And 99% of them are songs that they've written.
Right.
But what is the story behind it? And we got to hear Django Walker tell the story about Texas on My Mind that he wrote, that Pat Green made so famous, and something about a boat that Jimmy Buffett cut that he wrote, and so to hear those stories, how those songs came about, is cool.
It is.
And I'm sure you have lots of stories, and your mom does as well.
Oh, I'm sure I could probably bore everybody with plenty of stories all day
but that's
long,
what this is all about. It's not boring, because if someone hears your music, Olivia, they go, oh, that's Olivia Harms. That's great. Or they hear, we sit here in the casino for the last 10 days and listen. They've played a lot of wonderful music here, and we go, oh, I know that song and I know that artist, but you don't know the backstory. But I'm getting to hear some of these backstories and share them with our listeners, and I really love that about the music.
The story is what makes a song, in my opinion.
Sure.
And, sometimes it does hit me once in a while, and I think, wow, people will say, are you ever getting nervous to go up there and share the music that you write? And I guess growing up around it and just knowing that this is what I do and this is my passion, what I'm blessed enough to call my job, it doesn't really hit me very often. But once in a while I think, I guess maybe I should be nervous. I'm sharing these true stories that are 100% authentic about a heartbreak or a hard time or a good time, and it's absolutely the truth and a piece of your heart that you're putting out there for hundreds of people
you have to
judge
share your
and listen
vulnerability with people, and that's not easy.
No, and so I guess they say, well, you got to be brave to do it, and I think, I guess so, but I'm like I said earlier, if one person can clasp on to the story that I'm sharing, then I've done a good job. I've done what I'm here to do.
Yeah, and I love that. So let's talk a little bit more. So you 2011 was your first album. You've only done 2, is that correct?
That's correct.
Your second one was in 2020.
21. Yeah, 10 years later.
Yeah.
So, but I was doing quite a bit in that time. I was 16 when I recorded the first one, and it was such a fun project. My mom was so sweet to me. She's like, if you really want to do music, you've written all these great little, teenage love songs that you've been working on in your bedroom up there. Let's go to Nashville and we'll record it. So that was a great project. It was a wonderful learning experience for me. I listen to it sometimes and I think, boy, I hope my songwriting has changed quite a bit since then because that was so long ago. But you have to have a starting point. You have to have a launch pad to go off of
Absolutely.
in the future. And it took 10 years, to finish high school and get through college and get all this other stuff and then get to Nashville and find these songwriters that I was able to create, the songs that I recorded on Rhinestone, Cowgirl, and get that project put together. And, I didn't really have a time frame in my head. I just wanted to put it out when it was right and make sure that I did it in a way that was going to be an accurate representation of my music and who I think I am as an artist.
Okay. So how many songs were on that album?
There was 11 tracks.
11 tracks.
Yeah.
And did they, and that's a full-blown album.
Full-blown album.
And did you press it? Was it a vinyl?
I didn't do vinyl, but the next album that I do, I'm definitely going to do vinyl.
So what is your plan? Where you at as far as new music and new album?
Yeah, I have 4 new songs coming out in 2025.
All be released as singles.
We'll do
to
singles.
Start. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the way that the Spotify and Apple Music game works, as fun as it would be to just put them out, that'd be less work for everybody. Just put them out 4 at a time. But I think that you end up getting the most pop-ups or new ears or whatever you get put into other people's playlists. And just keeps people's attention if you do it 1 at a time versus all 4.
And most people don't understand how that deal, and I still don't understand. It's very complex and it's very confusing at times. But I tell people all the time, they think that because they have a Spotify account and that they're listening to your music that you're just making bank off that. And they look
I wish so.
They look at the streams. Now obviously the streams are important, but and the followers are important.
Right.
So if you're listening to this podcast and you like Olivia's music, follow her on Spotify.
Please I would love
click the follow, and the same on YouTube and any of those social media channels, because that's what it's all about. Whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, it is what it is. That's how it works. It's all about the followers and the downloads and the whatever, the streams. But there's not a lot of money in that unless they get into the millions. We interviewed the Huser brothers in Lubbock while we were down there, and they told us they got their notification from Spotify that they'd hit 1 million downloads on one of their songs.
That's
and they
amazing.
said we were so excited, and we took that money and we went and bought 2 McChicken sandwiches.
2 McChicken sandwiches. Yep, I know it.
It just doesn't pay. I mean,
it does not.
A million streams seems like a lot, but it's just not. I mean, you need the tens of millions.
You do, and I always tell people, if you really want to help me out, put it on repeat, mute your phone, and go to sleep.
Yeah,
You'll probably make me a couple dollars overnight.
There you go. Well, and then not only that, go. We tell everybody, go to the shows, buy the tickets, and then support them at the merch table.
Right.
And I don't know if you have merch, but
I do. We're always slinging some swag.
Yeah. So buy the merch, and then throw $20 in the tip bucket. That never killed anybody.
No,
right?
That's how we get down the road.
That's exactly
a little bit of gas
right.
money never hurt anybody.
That's exactly right. Well, cool.
Yep.
So do you travel with or tour with a full band, or is it just Olivia
I do
Harms?
a little bit of both.
Okay.
So it's hard to keep a full band employed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do a lot with my band during the summertime. I call them the road runners because that's really all we do is just run up and down the road. We do a lot of rodeos. We do a lot of festivals. Fun things like that.
Have you kind of stayed kind of in that northwest, the Oregon, Northern California deal, or are you?
A little bit, but I mean, after spending so much time in Texas, I feel like I really just get to play a lot of the western states.
Okay.
Anything from Colorado, we do a lot in Wyoming and Montana.
Okay.
We come to Idaho quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's where we hang our hats in Idaho.
Well, so next time we'll have to swing
next
by
time,
and see
we'll as we follow you more often. I mean, obviously, as we follow you, we'll know when you post your schedules and stuff. And our goal is to make sure that those that we've interviewed, that we share your links to your websites and to your schedule so that our followers can go, because there's not a lot. It's really frustrating sometimes because you go, other than Bands in Town, which is a really cool app, but to know, well, who do I like and where are they playing?
Yeah.
Unless it pops up, you follow them on their social media and stuff. So
it's hard to keep track of everybody.
Yeah,
it totally
really
is because you're not sitting there all day checking people's websites.
No,
who else do I like? Let me see where they're going to be and get out my date book and write it down.
And so for us, we have that music that we love, so we tend to lean that way.
Yeah.
But and share that. But it's so important because I miss a lot of stuff because I go, good hell, when were they in town? I didn't realize they were in town because there's so much going on. But and we're a little bit overwhelmed with all the music that we've been exposed to.
Oh yeah, there's so much good music out there right now.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
so much.
Yeah, and new artists popping up all the time. I mean, you got one that's playing here tonight.
Oh, I know.
That Noel Hudson. You know, he's only been in the game less than a year, and he's blowing up.
I know it.
He's absolutely blown up. We were, yeah. I would love to sit down with him and hear his story because it's pretty intriguing to me that somebody can go from zero to wide open.
Yeah.
You know, here he is in Vegas. You know,
I know, it's incredible.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd take a little bit of that sauce put on my music.
Yeah,
you know,
no
I've been out here fighting
you've been out there scrapping and scraping and fighting. You're clawing your way through this deal for what, 15 years? Well, your whole life essentially.
Whole life, yeah.
So you know, but it's not an easy game.
It's not an easy game. You know, whenever people say, what advice would you give to a future musician or somebody that wants to pursue a career in music or, you know, even arts or, for that matter, like rodeo or anything like that in general, you have to be very tough. You have to have thick skin, and I'm sorry, but you got to have a work ethic. They are not going to come knock on your door and say, hey, do you happen to sing or play, you know, an instrument? I'd love to. I'm looking for... No one does that. You have to go out and try to convince people to let you sing a few songs.
Well, it's no different for us. We had to chase down Olivia Harms to get her to sit down.
It didn't take very much convincing, Byron. This is fun.
And I appreciate that. But you know, you'd be amazed at sometimes how hard it is to get people to commit. And everybody, you know, we're competing for your time, and your time is precious, and we understand that, and we appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us. And we don't want to take up a lot more of your time, but will you play us a song?
I would love to play you a song.
Tell us a little bit about what you're going to play.
Oh, let's see. Since we're here, you know, doing rodeo stuff, maybe I'll play you a little cowboy song.
Okay.
And this one was written when I was in Nashville, actually. Okay. And I usually take a lot of my friends, well, back when I was single, I would take my friends with me to the rodeos that I'd play at. And I'd say, you girls go run around and you go, you know, scope it out, see what it's looking like.
Yeah.
And then when I'm done playing, we'll go see what we can find. And they'd come back and they'd say, oh my gosh, we've just heard some of the weirdest pickup lines all night. You won't believe what we've heard. And so I'd say, okay, well, those boys really have to stop doing that. You know, those pickup lines, did it hurt when you fell? You know, it doesn't work on us. We just much prefer that somebody says, hey, what's your name? Or you look nice, or whatever it is.
Right.
So I was driving back from, it was like a triple writing session one day while I was in Nashville, and I was dead tired, but I was like just driving back to my little spot, and I thought, okay, what would I say if I was gonna, you know, go greet a guy, you know, thinking about my friends. And so I started joking around and writing this song. And I thought, well, you know, maybe that's not too bad. So I sent it to them. I said, what do you think of this? Haha. And they said, that's good. Actually, you should finish that song. And so the next day, I went in and I met with my producer, who also was a co-writer on a few of my songs. And I said, Scott, I got this one, and I think we need to finish it. And he got out his like nice, deep baritone guitar. And if you've heard Hey There Cowboy, you know the signature lick that kind of starts the song off. And he started doing that, and I started writing. And next thing you know, we had the song. We throw George Strait in there and get a couple of those, you know, little things that you like to say, hey, do you look like George Strait? Or, you know, pickup lines that a girl might say, or a way to break the ice with somebody that they see. And so that's how that one came about.
Okay.
And we'll do it for you. Hey there, cowboy, what's your name? I ain't into it, playing no games. Hey there, cowboy, what you drinking? Yeah, I'll have one too. And I've been thinking, if one drink turns into more, and you dance me around the floor, neath the neon light so bright, and the jukebox grooving so, if you play your cards just right, who knows where this could go? Hey there, cowboy. Hey there, cowboy. Hey there, cowboy. why so lonely? There must be a girl you call your one and only. Hey there, cowboy, you kinda look like George Strait. Gotta shoot my shot with you before it's too late. If one drink turns into more, and you dance me around the floor, neath the neon light so bright, and the jukebox grooving so. If you play your cards just right, who knows where this could go? Hey there, cowboy. Hey there, cowboy. If one drink turns into more, and you dance me around the floor, yeah, neath the neon light so bright, and the jukebox grooving so. If you play your cards just right, who knows where this could go? Hey there, cowboy. Hey there, cowboy. What's your name? Hey there, cowboy. Why so lonely? Hey there, cowboy. Yeah, hey there, cowboy.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That was awesome.
Oh my gosh, you're so sweet.
has that been released?
It has. It's been out. So it's been released. It's on Spotify and Apple Music. It's probably the song that's done the best for me so far, and I'm just so honored by that people will come up and be like, "Hey, you're the Hey There Cowboy singer."
Yeah,
I'm like, that's me.
That's a great song. That's a little of that Ella Langley, almost, We actually got to meet Aaron Ratier, who co-wrote that with Ella and Riley Green. So,
cool.
Yeah. Hey, sign that Teton guitar for me. There's not a lot of spots left on it. They have covered it up for me.
Let's see here.
So we are giving that away. That is Teton Guitars. Teton is Idaho Falls, Idaho company.
Beautiful.
And they've been just so great to us. And we appreciate them giving us the guitars to let everybody play and then autograph them. But we're going to give that away on Monday.
Beautiful. So, well, she's all signed up now.
Yeah, now it's all covered up. But thank you so much for taking that. Gosh. Where can they find your music?
Yeah, wherever you like to listen. If you look up Olivia Harms, you'll find me. Yeah. And follow me on Instagram, Facebook, all those things, wherever to follow people.
And you have a website as well?
I do, oliviaharms.com. So check it out, follow my adventures, and I'd love to see you live sometime. The only place I ask people not to follow me sometimes is in person.
Yes, that's weird. That's weird.
That's all right. I'll probably give you a hug and come see you.
You got a big, handsome cowboy there that
I do.
That line must have worked on.
You know what? The saddest thing is I met him a couple years after this. I wrote this song and released the song, and it was doing okay for me. And I should have known better that I had this pickup line to go use and say, "Hey there, cowboy." But I got nervous, and my mom was saying, "Oh, you need to go say hi." I met him at a music festival.
Oh, fun!
I was playing, and
where was that at?
It was actually in my hometown of Canby, Oregon. Isn't that crazy?
Okay.
So finally, my mom convinced me that I should at least go say hi, and I started walking up there, and I thought I had something sharp to say, and then next thing I know, all I could pump out was, "I like your shirt. That's a nice one."
I like your
But it worked
shirt.
for me, I guess.
Yeah,
so.
I guess so. He finally.
I guess he fell for it.
He fell for it. He fell for it. He was looking for somebody to wash that shirt.
Yeah,
so wasn't he? Yeah.
Well, we take him to the dry cleaners. I got to have that cowboy starch on it.
Cowboy starch. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thanks. Where are you going from here? What do you got going on? You just going home for the holidays and then?
Yeah, we go home for the holidays and then gear up for a really exciting and fun 2025. So.
Where are you starting out in 2025?
2025, I guess we started out actually on our belated honeymoon. So I will be in Italy over New Year's.
Good for you.
Yeah, we'll be ringing in the new year, watching some Italian fireworks somewhere. And,
fun.
And then I come back and I go to Texas for a while, and then I go back to Arizona. I'm playing Art of the Cowgirl again, which is in Wickenburg, California, or Arizona. Then go back to California, which is where I get to call home for right now, and all around.
We may have to schedule it. So my wife is from Arizona.
Oh, is she?
And we've been to, and my brother lives just south of Wickenburg, and her sister still lives there. So, and we're always looking for a reason to go chase some music.
Art of the
somewhere.
Cowgirl is an amazing time.
I haven't been, but I don't know if you know Nancy Martini. She's one of the saddle
makers.
makers.
Yes, I do. Yes.
She's very talented.
She's amazing.
She's been a friend of mine for many, many years.
Yes, and she's one of their masters.
Yes, she is. She's very talented.
She's amazing.
Yeah. Dale Harwood kind of taught her.
Yes.
I don't know if you know that name,
I do.
Harwood, but Dale's Dale and I live in the same town. So
see,
and
you
I've
gotta
known
go
him,
now.
I've known him forever and ever and ever. And they have a home there in Congress, just outside of
nice.
Wickenburg. So
yeah.
Anyway, lots of reasons to come to Arizona, especially the sunshine, but
yes,
it never is quite warm enough for me. I like Florida.
Yeah, I know.
So, but
I get that.
Anyway, well, Olivia, thank you again so much for taking
goodness.
time. We really appreciate it. It's made our day. This is a good one to finish up our 10 days in Las Vegas. Actually, it's going on like 14 days, but 10 days of the NFR, and today's the culmination. They'll crown the world champions tonight.
I know, so exciting.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a big celebration here at the Westgate. This is a good place to be spending it.
Lots of great music here tonight. So
absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me, Byron. This was so fun. Thanks for taking the time.
All right, we appreciate you joining us. Hey, for Musical Miles Podcast, I'm your host, Byron Duffin, here with Olivia Harms. We will see you somewhere down the road. Adios for now.